Hello, good morning, and welcome back to UglyCode. Today, our goal will be to complete the next, to day 2 of Advent of Code 2024. And I think my tea is finally cooled down enough to drink, so let's get into it. Okay. So, where's my browser? Is it this one? There we go. Okay, let's just make the window capture in front. No. Oh, wrong window capture. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so let's go on to day 2. Yay, there's our little stars. Okay. Have some tea first. Day 2. Red-nosed reports. Fortunately, the first location the historians want to search isn't a long walk from the chief historian's office. While the red-nosed reindeer nuclear fusion/fission plant appears to contain no sign of the chief historian, the engineers there run up to you as soon as they see you. Apparently, they still talk about the time Rudolph was saved through molecular synthesis from a single electron. They're quick to add that, since you're already here, they'd really appreciate your help analyzing some unusual data from the red-nosed reactor. You turn to check if the historians are waiting for you, but they seem to have already divided into groups that are currently searching every corner of the facility. You offer to help with the unusual data. The unusual data, your puzzle input, consists of many reports. One report per line. Each report is a list of numbers called levels that are separated by spaces. For example, so this would be a report, and it consists of 5 levels. This example data contains, and the other thing is there's 6 reports in this block. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's what they're saying right here. This example data contains 6 reports, each containing 5 levels. The engineers are trying to figure out which reports are safe. The red-nosed reactor safety systems can only tolerate levels that are either gradually increasing or gradually decreasing. So a report only counts as safe if both of the following are true. The levels are either all increasing or all decreasing, and any 2 adjacent levels differ by at least 1 and at most 3. Okay, so we're going to be checking 2 different conditions for every transition between levels, and then doing that for every report. In the example above, the reports can be found safe or unsafe by checking those rules. Okay, I'm not going to spend time reading these all off, but yeah, so this one is all decreasing, and it's within the limits. This one is decreasing, but it's too fast. This one is increasing, and again, within safe limits. So I could think of a few different ways that we could approach that. So maybe we'll try a couple of them and see what works best. Okay, so let's get our puzzle input. Okay, so it's just a bunch of numbers. Oh, and I should also double check. Because I looked closer at day 1, and so looking at the times, it looks like people were completing both puzzles in anywhere from 9 seconds to 2 minutes and 31 seconds. And same was today. They were completing it within 1 minute and 42 seconds to about, the leaderboard was full at 4 minutes and 42 seconds. So yeah, I don't think we were really in any risk of accidentally revealing the puzzle. It was already done hours and hours before we did the stream. Okay, so the data. Yeah, let's do it the same way as we did yesterday. Well, okay, maybe I can use the host name. There we go. Okay, and where did I put the file? There we go. Okay, so before we move on, is there anything that I want to take note of about this data? Yeah, so the first thing is it doesn't seem to have any consistency as to whether or not it's, well, first of all, 1 or 2 digits, but also whether or not it's 8 numbers or 5 numbers or 6 numbers, or so we need to be prepared to handle an arbitrary number of numbers. Okay. So yeah, the example given here shows 5, but it's whatever the input specifies. Okay. And then we need to do that for all of them, and what's the output? Okay, we're just figuring out how many are safe. So we have to run these 2 rules against every line of input. Okay. Full screen so I can see what I'm doing. There we go. Switch my keyboards around. Oh, actually, before we get started on that, did I talk about any of that stuff? Actually, yeah, none of that is important right now. Just although I do want to maybe do the servo mounting bracket later if there's time. I was also going to start a print so that we're using up the red filament. Let's just quickly switch over here. its thing. We'll check back on it in a bit. Full screen. Okay, so I think I saved it as there we go. So let's start with Python. So let's start by opening the file. I'm not sure if we need to import anything yet. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Right now, let's just try and read in the lines and split everything up. So first we start by reading it, and then for every line in F. Oh, I should have. Okay, well, let's cancel this for a sec. Let's declare. I could do this as I read the file, but I think it's probably better to just read it in so that I only have to read the file once. So that should read in. Read in the input file, iterate over all the lines in the input file, split each line along the spaces, no matter how many there are. It should split that up into an array, or a list, I guess, in Python, and store that as numbers, and then append that onto the reports. So when I run this, we won't see anything, but then when I check the value of reports, we should see it print out a whole bunch of stuff. So let's give that a try. Okay. Reports. Oh, and I will be going back and saving the history of this. After the day one stream, I went back and exported all the history so I can post it somewhere afterward. And I'll be doing the same here. So if this is going to flood the screen, but that's okay. Oh, it still has the new line on there. So let's wipe that out and start over. So reports is nothing. So we want to call line.strip So it takes the new line off at the end, and then it splits on the spaces. So, yeah, there was nothing before that. And reports, we've emptied it out. So we can just append onto it. And I think that was everything. Yeah. Okay. Now, if we check the value of reports, there we go. That's looking better. So now we need to iterate over the set of reports, or the list of reports. Iterate over that, and then for each, within that, for each number that's in that report. Okay, so there's here's the two ways that I could see of solving the first. Here, let me bring this up so I can actually see what I'm talking about here. Okay, so the levels are either all increasing or all decreasing. So there's a really easy way that I could do that in Python. And that's kind of the first way I was inclined to do it, but I'll tell you about it, but it'll work better with the second way if I do it the longer method, I guess. But anyway, so the easy way in Python would be, and actually we'll test this anyway, is to ask Python for the list. So for each list, if you want to check if it's either all increasing or all decreasing, you just ask Python for the sorted version of the list and check and see if they match. Now, let me just double check, because there should be sorted, and I think either reverse sorted or R sorted, or let's check. Let's just take, oh, actually it should be in here, because we're in. Okay, so where is, because sorted will give us the list in order. Oh, and we should check on the rollout. Okay, looks like everything's going fine. Cool. So, let's talk about dictionaries. Oh, there we go, reverse. So, here, let's just try that. Oh no, I full screened the wrong thing. Where's my HDMI? There we go, full screen. Okay, so we've got everything in these nice little lists, and let's see how many reports we have. So there are once again 1,000 lines of reports. So we'll iterate over the whole list of reports. What do we want to do with these?
should do it if sorted report equals the report, or
I feel like I should have declared some variables before this, but I can always, I can rerun it later. Let's just try this once. So, if is either, let's just print out I'm just trying to think of two words that will stand out when I look at a big list of them. There we go. I'll just put a tab. So we'll say ordered and random. Let's also let's try plugging in the report. Okay, so let's see how that performs and how the output looks. Actually, I might keep that because I was going to say, so the second part of the problem, let me just pull it up so I can look at it. The second part of the problem, the first part is easy to, as we've just seen there, is fairly easy to solve just by saying, hey, Python, give me the ascending and descending versions of this list, and then checking does it match or not. And if the list that we were given doesn't match either of those, then okay, well then something then they're obviously they're not in perfect ascending or descending order, I guess is where I'm trying to go with that. But since both of them have to be true, and we're not checking why it's unsafe, we're just checking, is it safe, in which case both conditions are true, or is it unsafe? So, the second condition here, I was thinking, well, I'd probably be better off doing these two together, because the second one here, I'm going to probably have to iterate over every level in each report. And for each level, check and see how it compares to the previous level. And the way I was thinking of doing that is just to check the differences and then just check, run it through an absolute and check and make sure it's within 1 and 3. But it occurs to me now that that wouldn't have checked if it's all decreasing or all increasing. It would have only checked to make sure, for example, that there's no duplicates, for example. That it would have caught. But they need to be done together. So the solution that I had in mind for that was that you would set on the first transition, you would note whether or not you're ascending or descending, and set it as kind of a direction flag. And then as you proceed, you would just check and make sure that is enforced moving forward. So at that point, it doesn't matter which number you subtract from the other. You just subtract one from the other, run it through an absolute, and check and make sure that it's within the range of 1 and 3. If you're doing them together. But the other thing that occurs to me now is that I can do them together because I want to check this one first anyway. Because if it's not all increasing or all decreasing, there's no point in checking the rest, like iterating the levels at all. It doesn't matter because they're already unsafe. So we'll do it as 2 steps. The first step we've just done, and then the second step we'll just check and make. We'll iterate over all the levels in the report and make sure that the absolute difference is between 1 and 3. Because we already know that it has to be increasing or decreasing because we checked that. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, so for report in reports, yes. So keep that line, because that solves part of the problem for us. And now instead of just printing it, I gotta go check the printer. Oh, right. So about the printer. The bad news is that there actually is, I looked closer at the filament, and it is, what's the word? Twisted? Tied? I don't know. It's tied in a knot. It's crossed over, when it snapped off, it managed to uncoil enough that it crossed over a few, I don't know what the best word for that is, a few rows of filament. But the good news is that it seems, when I tried to just gently move it with my finger, it just slides along sorry, trying to think of the best words here, as the spool rotates. So as long as it doesn't pull taut, it should be fine. So I just got to keep an eye on it, and we'll just use up the rest of the filament and switch to another color. Okay, so let's actually keep this line in there so that it tells us why we're running this block and what we're iterating. We'll take it out later. The other thing we want to do in here, so it'll tell us about, it'll say ordered, and it'll say here's what I'm iterating, and then we need a for loop in here. these levels. So what I'm thinking about here is I either need to set, as I'm iterating over them, I need to keep track of what the previous one is. Or, I think Python has a list iteration. Let's just double check this. But I think Python has the ability to iterate things in pairs. List comprehension. Yeah, let's take a look here, because I've never used list comprehension for that. But that does make sense. Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Let's read up the zip method, because I've never actually used that one. Or, well, I've used it, but not very often. Okay. Make an iterator that aggregates elements from each of the iterables. So you're passing it 2 iterables. That makes sense why you're passing it items. And items beginning at the 1th element. So item okay, so it just skips. I'll bet if we I'll double check this in the documentation. But this is going to be 2 different lists of different sizes. So this one's going to be 4 items, and this one's going to be 3 items. So this one's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and this one's just going to be 2, 3, 4. And so it's going to pair up items 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4. But then when it gets to 4, there is no 4th item in the other list. So it's just going to drop it. And let me just double check that, because it should confirm that in here. Iterator stops when the shortest input is exhausted. Yeah. Okay, and we don't really care about the longest in this case. Do we? No. No, because we're generating them, and yeah, they're going to inherently be 2 different sizes, and we don't care about the trailing element. Yeah. So that should solve the issue for us. And then, so this is just splitting it up into the pairs A and B, and instead of pairing them up as lists and printing them, what do we want to do instead? Here, let's start with this.
So for every pair of levels, as we iterate over it, we already know that they're all either ascending or descending. Although I don't think that, sorting would not check for duplicates. So that is, but checking the absolute difference will. Because if there's duplicates, the difference will be 0. So we've already got that covered. Okay. I think I can use a double conditional as well. So instead of having to save that, let's try it. So if one I think that works in Python. Let's try it. Oh. I should have declared a variable at the start. Okay, well, I guess let's cancel that now and just add that in. Okay, so let's put it right here in case we decide to change things later on, but so let's start out by assuming that it's safe. And then we just need that next line there. It would have also been good to keep a count of them. Okay, let's do that first. Yes, shouldn't need anything else declared because if anything increases or decreases out of scope, then we just set it to false. So yes, I should hit the check. Can I get that line back too? There we go. If it's safe, then we don't change anything. We just leave it. Otherwise,
logic feels kind of cumbersome. I feel like when I determined that it was safe, I should have just incremented the safe count. And otherwise we don't really care. Oh, but it's doing that. Never mind, it's doing that for every pair. So yeah, we just, at that point, we just want to say it's safe and do nothing. And it's down here. Yeah, so the way that it's structured, I have to put it here. But I feel like there's a better way to do this. So if after all of that, we're still safe, that should do it. Because we don't care how many are unsafe, we just want to know how many are safe. And then we'll give us that value at the end. And we just, yeah. So this is going to print out a whole bunch of output, and then we just ask it for the value of safe count. Line 6. Oh, but none of it's... Oh, is it numbered? Maybe. Ordered. Okay, so it's in the ordered block. Oh. Because when we read them in as strings. Okay, so this comes back to yesterday. Where the best way to fix this is probably just to reformat the data. Let's go all the way back to where we said reports equals. Yeah, because if they're strings, Python, it still works when Python sorts it as strings, but if we're wanting to do subtraction, I guess actually, yeah, it might be less work to just change it so that the subtraction works. So I'll do that. Normally I would rather use integers, so I'd go back and change it so it reads the file in as a list of ints, but let's just solve it and move on. Technically, I could probably also do it here with some kind of like list comprehension to convert these, but I think it's probably, yeah, if I just change this line here, it should be fine. There's always multiple different ways to solve a problem, and in computer science, and there's always multiple pros and cons for or against each of those reasons. So in this case, the argument is that, well, I prefer not to store integers as strings. It's good enough to solve this problem. And all I have to do is change it right here. And then the rest of this can be left as is. Also, a lot of these lines are unnecessary, and normally I would write them initially while I'm just testing to make sure everything works, and then I would go back and either comment them out or mark them with debug flags or trim them out entirely if they're not super useful anymore. So it really depends on the message as to whether or not it's useful as some kind of debug thing. Okay, so now the safe count, yes, safe count needed to be reset. We didn't need to reset the reports. We just need to start iterating them from the start. Okay. I think that worked. $570. Let's get our star. Okay, let's take a look at this and see what we did wrong. Here, I guess it would help to bring the history back. Was that code that I used the other day? I think it was this one actually. There we go. Oh, but I can't copy it across. Okay. I'm going to leave that there for now and take a look at that because it sounds like the puppy wants to go outside. I think I'm on the right track, but something is just slightly off. And safe is false, safe is false. It sets it to true at the start there every time if safe. Safe count equals 1. And I was getting 570, I think. Okay, well, I will come back to this in a little bit. How do there we go. Okay, so it seems like somebody else is taking care of her right now, so let's see if we can finish this.
Let's just double check then. Reports. Okay, so we didn't change the reports. And sorted wouldn't do that either. I reset safe count back to 0, and I always reset safe to true. And if nothing changes it to false. Wait a sec, does it ever say unsafe? Should take a look at the output. No, it doesn't. It just says ordered safe, 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 safe. Random unsafe. So that unsafe is working, but otherwise it just checks. Let's find one that should have said unsafe. So it is. This one's ordered. That actually seems like that one should have been safe. This one is ordered decreasing. Trying to see if I can find one that's like obviously. Wait a minute, do I even print it out if it's not safe? If it's ordered, I print it. If it's unordered, I print it. Okay. Yeah, so that should be fine. Although I don't like how it prints off safe for every character. Let's fix that. Okay, so safe count back to 0. Reporting reports. It said my answer was too low. So if it is ordered, print ordered. We should probably also, you know what? In here, let's print out what A and B are. Then, yes, convert into ints, check if the absolute, I think it was, let's double check the rules, because I think it was 1 and 3, but maybe I got that wrong. Return to day 2, okay. Any 2 adjacent levels differ by at least 1, and at most 3. Oh, maybe Python didn't like how I, hang on. Okay, let's try doing this. should have actually printed the difference out along with A and B, but whatever. Okay, so we get a difference, and then if the difference. I still think. I still feel like that should be valid, but you know what? Yeah, let's try that, because that should work for sure. And I'll check later on. Okay, and all that does, yeah, let's just print safe. Again, would have been good to condense all of that onto one line, but okay. So that. Let's see what the result is. 0. That's worse. Yeah, this is, hang on, this is too verbose. I want to put that all on one line. So let's reset safe count to 0. We did increase it, if safe. But why didn't it increase it? Okay. Okay. So then, what's messed up here? Report in reports. If the report when sorted or reversed is equal to the report. Oh, hang on. I didn't set. That's what I was missing. I forgot to set safe to true. I was
copying the lines. Okay, so I'll bet if I run it this time, it'll actually work. Okay, let's go back. This is the one that didn't have it. Okay. Ordered. Okay, so now instead of printing them out there, we'll just take the difference. And we'll check if the difference is in range. And then we'll print everything out. So we'll say we print out that it's unsafe, and then I think the next one was we set it to false. Yes. And then the next one should be an else, I think. Let's just double check the structure. Yes, it is an else. I should probably switch over to like a proper IDE or something. Otherwise we print random. Or even just being able to highlight stuff, like actually use my mouse. This portable keyboard kind of sucks. It has a mouse, but it's kind of frustrating to use. Okay, so if it's random. Oh, I should have just said unsafe right on that same line there. Oh well. Whatever. And I think the next one is we set it to false. Yes. Otherwise, if safe. There we go. Okay. I still don't see any of them that are unsafe because of the difference between levels, but I also don't see any that, like, just taking a quick glance, I don't see any, like, 4 differences or anything, or 0. let's just check the count. No, that's still too low. What am I doing wrong? Wait a minute, what was the question again? How many reports are safe? Okay. For a second there I thought maybe it was how many reports are unsafe, but no, that's... Okay. Maybe we're not seeing any unsafe because we're not looking far enough back. So yes, that should be an or, because if either the sorted version or the reverse sorted version matches, then we consider it safe for now. Because that just proves that it's ascending or descending, so that should be fine. And then we print out the ordered. And it's not printing out. No, all we did was split it. We didn't tell it to sort those. Sorted shouldn't change. Sorted returns a copy. So report should still be unsorted. Yeah, which we see there with okay, random 18, 15, 13, 11, 9, 6, 5. How did it not see that as descending? let's go. Hang on. I have a feeling that a lot of this could have been avoided if I had taken my original my original hunch. And let's go back here to not doing one input. So let's just clear reports out. This is way too far back in the history. Okay. So now with yes. Minus F. For line in F. Too far. Okay. Numbers equals line dot strip dot split. Let's add in a list comprehension there. So, split is going to return a list, but then what this is going to do is, for everything in that list, it's going to temporarily store it in X, convert it to an int, and then convert that whole thing into a list, and that will be numbers. And did we actually do anything with the numbers? I think we just append it. So let's save ourselves a line of code. That should and instead of flooding, let's just do one line. Yeah, that looks fine. Yes, they are different. Reverse sorting also works. And the match check also works. Okay. And let's. And it didn't change it. Awesome. Okay, so it worked as expected. So now, let's try running the code we had earlier, but with integers. So we want Oh, right, because I did reset it. Okay, so the code we want is forward report and reports. Yes, that should be fine. Although I think we're supposed to be there. We're not going to forget that line again. It's supposed to be safe equals true. Yes. Oh, that's the one that doesn't have it. Here we go. So if it's ordered, does this need to change at all? No. No, because we want the unordered version of the report. And that was working. It was iterating in pairs. But I didn't like that version of it. So the one that saves it as difference. Where's that one? There. Okay, so if the difference is greater than or equal to 1, and the difference is less than or equal to 3, that should work. Else, unsafe. Which sets safe to false. Technically, once it says safe, it doesn't really need to keep iterating, but once it says unsafe. But so we will see it keep going no matter how many characters there are. It'll go through all of them, but we should at least see unsafe show up somewhere in the list if there was an unsafe transition there. So let's try, I don't know, let's try it. Else print random.
unsafe on the next line just for consistency. Missing something? No, because if any of the differences are unsafe, it doesn't matter where. If any of them are, it'll change it to false. And it can only be changed back to true at the start of the next report. And it doesn't matter if there's multiple unsafes. They'll all just count as one, that's fine. Okay. $6.24. That is a better result. Let's try it. Yay! We got our star. Okay, next part. Let's get this over with.
The engineers are surprised by the low number of safe reports, until they realize they forgot to tell you about the problem dampener. The problem dampener is a reactor-mounted module that lets the reactor safety systems tolerate a single bad level in what would otherwise be a safe report. It's like the bad level never happened. Now, the same rules apply as before, except if removing a single level from an unsafe report would make it safe, the report instead counts as safe. Now the same rules apply as before, except if removing a single level from an unsafe report would make it safe, the report instead counts as safe. Okay, so if the removal of any one level fixes the problem, so if it's already safe, then we don't change anything. But if it's unsafe, then we check to see if I'm just trying to think of what the easiest way to do this would be. You could try giving it like a 2 strikes system. Also, now we're going to have to change it so that it doesn't have that shortcut at the beginning where it just sorts the 2 lists quickly. Actually, wait, no, we can still use that. Because if it is sorted... Yeah, if it's already safe, then we don't need to worry about it. We only need to worry about it if it's unsafe. So we can reuse some of the code. Is there anything here? Okay, so we don't need to keep track of which report or which level it is. We just need to try. So I feel like one way to do this would be if it's unsafe. Actually, yeah, that's probably the easiest way. It seems a bit resource intensive and it's probably a bit wasteful, but the simple way that comes to mind is iterate over. So if it's unsafe, iterate over every level in the report and try removing that element from the list. And then rerun the previous logic. And if any removal makes it pass, then consider it a pass. Okay, so let's here. Oh, there we go. So we're gonna need safe count equals 0 again. This would probably also work better if I actually declared some functions or something. But right now I'm just writing it all out of the console. Which, I mean, you can write functions in the console too, but it also makes it harder to go back because you have to go back and overwrite the function when you want to change things, and which you can do, but I'm currently just testing the code, so. Actually, yeah, we can keep the first part of the code the same. Almost done copying. So if it's not safe, we check and see if it can be redeemed in some way. Let's take a look at the list documentation and see if there's, without modifying the list, if there's a function that'll just return it with minus that element. So no, that's for zip. Okay. These are already built in, so I want
Okay, list comprehension. Let's see. No, I think if we call .remove on it, it's going to modify that one. I don't want it to remove the original, I want it to remove the nth element. I also want a method that'll check it, so I think this would actually work well with the list comprehension, because what I want to do is for every element, I want to call the list checker on the list minus that element. First instance of the value, but that's not what I want. I want it by index. Pop. Let's just check the list documentation. No, not pop, because that's going to actually modify the list. Wait a second. Yeah, list slicing is just fancy indexing. Okay, that's not. Wait a second. think that should do it. I'm just wondering if there's any risk of bounds error. Because that n plus 1. So let's suppose report has 5 elements. So it's 0 to 4, but the length is 5. So while n is 0 through 4, when it's 4, take everything up to 4 but not including, and then we'll take it might complain about that. Yeah, let's try it. Oh, I should have set it back to safe if it was... Okay, whatever. Yeah, because it's already shit. It's already set to unsafe. Oh well. That should at least print out the different sliced reports and whether or not they are... Yeah, let's try it. That seems like an infinite loop. Okay. Well, what time is it anyway? 2:28. How long has this been going on? I think I started kind of tired. So I might park it here and continue in the morning, because I feel like when I'm at the point when I'm writing infinite loops, I just want to think about this for a second, because I have a feeling that as soon as I decide to park it, I'll probably have the solution. But I'm pretty sure what I want to do is write some kind of a checker function that takes any given report and either checks if it is safe, or takes a report where it's had an element removed from it and checks to see if that is safe. And if any of them is safe, in fact, you wouldn't even really need to do that in the failure case. You could actually just have it run the check for both every report and every version of the report that is minus an element. And if any of those comes back safe, then it's safe. I think I'm close, but I'm gonna go get some rest, and let's have some tea. Yeah, I think I'll park it there for now. Is there anything else on here? No, that's just reminding me what to do. Okay. So I'm not sure when we'll get to these things, but that's kind of a rough idea of some of the things that I've got on the horizon coming up. Maybe we'll start on some of that in the morning. Because I don't want every single video to be Advent of Code. I do want to make some more progress on the circuit board, camera testing, and some 3D printing stuff. So, but I think I'll save that for later. And yeah, have a good night, and we'll maybe resume this in the morning.